Ali.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, I've been talking to Aaron. I've been talking to like a lot of people who know you, but I've never actually talked to you face to face. So this is kind of cool.
Yeah, right on.
Johnny, I know already. I mean, but I'm not going to go into exactly how we met.
Johnny and I've already had a couple of quarantine Zooms.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we've Zoomed together a couple times. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
I was trash in one of them.
Yeah, it was funny. No, you were saying.
Oh, hold on.
You were.
Is it? I'm hearing a. Am I hearing an echo? No, I think we're good.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh, it's because of Facebook. That's why. It's because it's playing live over there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to introduce it, and then we can go through. All right, welcome everybody to the very first episode of Professional Novice. I don't know what we're doing with this, and we're going to figure it out as we go along. So let's see. All we know is that everybody's in lockdown, everybody's in quarantine. These are the times, in case you're hearing this decades into the future or centuries, decades into the future, not even anyway, whatever. We're going to be, we are in quarantine right now because of this coronavirus epidemic. And with me for the first episode, I'm very honored to be joined by my fellow lockdown dads. Josh Johnson, who is an assistant professor. He's a curator of anatomical sciences or specimens. And we have to get into that. I have to know what that is. And a researcher and a rock musician. And then Kashif Ali, who's a financial tech consultant and also a rock musician. And myself. And we are thinking of talking about pandemic parenting. We're all dads. We've got kids who are pretty much around the same age. So we're gonna start with that, and then let's see where it goes. Because I know that
they were gonna talk about Bernie Sanders. I'm kidding.
We have to talk about Bernie Sanders at some point.
Still,
I was about to say. I think.
I don't think we have to anymore.
I can always talk. I mean, we don't. That's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
So all of our biases are here. But first of all, guys. So I was going. So you're both in New York. You're both in the sort of the epicenter of this thing, the world's epicenter of this COVID pandemic. Both of you guys are working from home right now. Or
yeah. I'm working.
Josh
from
left
home.
Josh
I'm not in New York.
Yeah. Oh, you're not in New York.
Josh left.
No. I'm not in New York.
Oh, I'm hearing an echo. Hold on.
Oh no, I'm gonna.
Does anybody have like Facebook or something playing in the background?
Hold on, I'm getting a delay I'm hearing my own voice. Yeah. Oh no,
I do not have Facebook open.
Oh, you don't? Are you hearing an echo, Kashif?
I'm hearing the echo somewhere.
Do you have earphones?
I'm wearing headphones.
Oh, you are? Okay, so just make sure that whatever, if you don't have YouTube open or Facebook open alongside you.
I'm going to close, make sure YouTube's not open and things like that.
Yeah, and Facebook's not open.
Okay. Oh, that made a big difference. Oh my God.
A huge difference, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
so I think
technical difficulties in the very first. Now we know.
How do I, so this is not like Zoom. How do I blow this up to fit my screen? I want to get comfortable before we start talking.
Oh, I don't think you can. I don't know how to do that.
Okay,
I think
all right.
It is the way it is.
Yeah, you can do that.
All right.
Anyway,
all right.
So yeah, so you, so Josh, you abandoned your fellow New York brethren and you took off somewhere.
Yeah. So we live in New York City. We live in Manhattan. I've lived there for the last 13 years. My son was born there. He's 5. And we were already like quarantining for actually 3 weeks, but so just right around shit started to get real in New York and really uncertain. My wife was talking to my mother-in-law in the kitchen, and I walk into the kitchen when she gets off the phone, and she's like, "Yeah, Mom suggested we should just go down to her place," and she lives in North Carolina for the last couple of years, with my wife's stepdad, and I was like, well, I was hesitant actually. I wasn't sure we should do that, but then I said, well, if we're gonna do it, we should do it like right now, and not 2 weeks from now, because it was getting bad in New York as it was, and so the next morning, I'm just like, if we're gonna go, we gotta go fucking like tomorrow morning as early as possible. We can't wait, otherwise it's gonna be too late to go because it'll get worse, and we shouldn't be. Who knows if we get infected and take it down. Anyway, so we packed up the next morning and we left, and we've been in North Carolina in a small town called Sneed's Ferry, which is a few minutes from the beach here, since mid-March, man. I think like between March 15th, March 20th, I've lost track of time. And we had no idea. I mean, this was in the beginning when the New York, it was still uncertain for everyone. It was getting real, it was getting bad. We had no idea how long we'd be here. I mean, a week, 2 weeks, I don't know, something like that. Maybe the end of the month. I really didn't think we'd be here in April, actually, but it's almost June now, or at least it will be in like less than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
You have relatives that also got COVID, right?
Yeah, I do. I have an older brother who's a surgeon in New York. And my mother-in-law and his kids. My wife has a lot of family in New York and Long Island and the general tri-state area. And yeah, I mean, and he's my brother's a doctor. He's a trauma surgeon. And at the time I left, he like I was actually, so that night, like when my wife was like talking about going, I was like, well, if we're gonna go, we gotta go absolutely tomorrow morning. I bought a bottle of whiskey that night, and because I was kind of freaking out about the whole virus, and I was like, my wife stopped letting me bring whiskey home, and so I was like, well, I'm going to get some wine. I'm like, I snuck a pint of Jim Beam. I'm drinking that, and so I called my brother up.
Well, it counts as disinfectant in a way. It's got high alcohol.
It's
ingested.
But like,
yeah.
I remember I was drinking in the kitchen. By that time, my wife was asleep. But like, I called my brother up, and I'm like drunk. I'm like, man, we're talking. He's drunk too. We're both talking on the phone. We're drinking late at night. I'm like, man, dude, I think we're going to North Carolina tomorrow morning, and I promise you, once the zombies start coming, man, I'm gonna take a fucking bus back and like help you fight them off, dude. But anyway, I was feeling really bad about leaving New York. Actually, I still do. But yeah, so I have family there. My wife has family there, and anyway, he's a surgeon, and before we left, he was at home. He was quarantining. Him and his wife. They both work at Jacoby Medical Center in the Bronx. She's a healthcare worker. Works as a respiratory therapist. Pretty germane, actually. So, and about maybe 2 weeks since I've been in North Carolina, and I was waiting for him to be in charge of his own COVID unit, and then he was, and it really didn't take long for shit to hit the fan. He lost a couple of nurses of his in his hospital, and
like a loss. Yeah. And they ended up having to quarantine because they got sick, or they
end up dying.
Oh wow!
And, yeah, and so yeah, is Jacoby. I mean, Jacoby's is a medical center in the Bronx. He's already used to seeing a lot of shit, but he wasn't used to this. We talked about it, and even it takes a lot to phase my brother. But we were on the phone. He was like, "I've never seen so much death and sickness in my life," and but he didn't really. I mean, what he would do, he's a rocker too. He's a musician too, like you, like Johnny. We used to play in a band together. Actually, my first band, and when I moved to New York, he's been in New York longer than me. But like he copes, like he would spend a lot of time he would come home, take a nap in the morning, and then go in his basement and play like blues rock and like record shit and like send it to me and his brother-in-law and that's how he coped with it. He's been coping with it.
But did he end up getting COVID as well?
No, he didn't. Thank goodness. No, I was certain he would. I really was. I was prepared for it, but he didn't get it. My sister got it. My sister in Chicago got it in the beginning of all, and she got it in March. And she was she works at Northwestern Hospital. My family's from Chicago. We're all from Chicago. She never left, and she works at a medical center at Northwestern Hospital. And she caught it there, and she was she wasn't on a ventilator. They were giving her oxygen for about 7 days.
Right. We did post about that. That was scary.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I said that was a scary. I remember when you posted about it. That was scary.
Yeah, no, that it was that she was in the hospital before I left New York, and I was just talking to my boss about it. I was like, oh shit, man, now it's someone in my family, my sister, and that was when it began to bum me out. Like
it was in a peak time period too. It was like when we were in peaks, right? And it was scary at the time. I mean, I several of my friends have gotten it. Several people I know have gotten it. No one's, luckily no one has gotten any severe issues. Or my college roommate, his wife, I think she was a frontline worker as well. And it's craziness because all my friends that have gotten it, they're all young, right? But another friend of mine he's lost family members as well because the older family members in deep Bronx and Brooklyn and stuff. So
how's your sister doing now, Josh?
My sister, so she recovered. I mean, I would call her up and we were all checking in on her every day, at least a couple of times a day, and she recovered. They let her go after 7 days, so when her oxygen was fine, required less, and she's back at work now though. She went home and she kind of recovered some more for probably another couple of weeks, maybe less than 3, I think, and then she's been back at work.
Yeah. What about you, Johnny? So there's a question here. This guy, hold on.
Yes.
This is a friend of mine. He's a future guest on this, so we're gonna have him on. He's a physician. He's an internist, so he's going to be coming on to talk about. I'm not going to ask him any questions about COVID, but anyway, so he's asking if Kashif is Johnny Ali on Facebook. Are you?
That's correct. I am Johnny Ali on Facebook.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Unra, there's a question, huh? What? Sorry. Yeah. So. The second thing I wanted to ask is you guys, what are you guys wearing? Are you wearing pants? Are you wearing?
I'm wearing shorts.
Yeah. You're wearing shorts? Me too.
Yeah.
Wait, he's asking what we're wearing?
Yeah. On like what we can't see.
We're all wearing black t-shirts and shorts.
I'm wearing black t-shirts and jeans.
Oh, you're wearing jeans.
Well, you're around people.
No, ordinarily I'd be wearing. I wear these so when we got here, we left kind of on the fly, right? And it was so cold in New York. I didn't bring any shorts and shit. And we're in North Carolina. I was like, oh my God, I forgot all this shit. And anyway, we took a trip, or my wife took a trip to I guess went to a Target or something. I'm like, dude, bring me back some shorts or something, because anyway, normally I walk around here in tees and fucking soccer shorts or something, but today it rained all day yesterday, all day today, so the mosquitoes were heavy.
Everywhere,
I took my son.
I got a question. Josh, are you wearing acid wash jeans? Stand up. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at that. Yeah,
yeah, dude. Yeah, I
This is getting more exciting than I thought. So, you guys, when you do,
I was gonna. I'm a rock and roll musician. I was gonna ask that question.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah,
Are
buddy.
you guys, when you're working, you're doing.
I'm wearing my own band's T-shirt because I'm one of those guys now. Because it's been like 13 years since I've been in the band.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so Josh, you have a son, right? He's 5 years old, right?
Yeah.
And Johnny Kashif, you have 2 daughters. So congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
On the second one. How old is the second one now?
Well, she was born on the 12th of December, so now it's the 18th of the 5th month.
Trying to get out of the light.
Wow, man.
So she's 5 months.
Yeah, so you keep track on the second one too. The first, I only have one.
Well, they're both their birthdays. Interesting enough, their birthdays are a day apart.
Oh, they're a day apart. Okay,
Yeah.
so with my wife Lishba, her there's 4 siblings. Her and 2 of her siblings have the same birthday.
That's amazing.
Dude,
Now,
my wife and her brother had the same birthday. They're exactly a year apart.
This is so weird. What is it?
Anniversary, baby.
Fucking bizarre. I was sitting on the patio yesterday, drinking like Bloody Marys with my mother-in-law and my stepfather-in-law. I'm like, my Jovita, like, so like when you had Bill like on the same day a year, were you like, oh my god, what the fuck? And she's like, yeah, I was. Like, so we were celebrating Bill's birthday and went into labor. I'm like, yeah. I was like, so it's like bad. Like that's what they call. I think they call it Irish twins.
That's.
Well, I mean, these guys like Lishpa's siblings are actually twins. They're both twins. So the other two are twins, but they happened to be born on her 7th birthday. So she was very pissed about that. It was like it was her birthday, and you
ruined my birthday.
Suddenly there's twins.
They're a day apart, so we can give them their own birthday. I think that was like actually one of the things we talked to about with the doctor was the OB was like, let's give them their own birthdays. Let's try to not, if we can, we're gonna do it early if we have to. Like make sure it comes in.
See, I wouldn't have thought of that. I would, because my instinct would be, well, hey, both you guys have the same, birthday a day apart. Let's just have one big.
Yeah, we could still have one big party, but now they individually can have their own day. Do you know what I'm saying?
They should have that.
In fact, I'm going to do Christmas. My wife is also December, so I'm going to do Christmas. My wife and my 2 children just cut it all in one day. It's like, here's one party for everything.
Dude, that's still my brother's birthday is the day after Christmas. No one gives a fuck about his birthday.
Oh man, what the worst day to have a birthday.
Oh yeah, he's fucking. He's like, yeah, no one gives a shit. Like,
so
the day
my
after
wife's birthday is New Year's Eve, so.
Oh yeah, those are bad days to have birthdays. But so
any holidays, well, except Halloween. Halloween's like one of those holidays you're like, yes, my birthday's on Halloween.
Yeah.
So, Gosh, if you got, were both of your kids? Well, I guess one of them was in daycare before all of this happened, or
she was going to. At the time when this happened, we were going to daycare 2 days a week, just for the older one, and we pulled her out obviously as soon as we had to, and. It's interesting because we actually paid a couple months, not full rate, but we've paid a couple of months at a reduced rate to make sure we don't lose our spot. Also, we feel kind of like, hey, we don't want this business to go out of business. We want them to be there. So when this is over, we still have a daycare to go to. So we're like, financially stable and stuff. So we're giving the money, but we just got surprising. We got an email today saying that they got the loan from the government, right? The stimulus loan. So we don't need to pay for the time being while they're taking the stimulus loan, which is great. I don't know what the deal with the employees are. We've asked about that so we can see if we can give money to the employees or donate or something, because don't want to see people suffering if they don't have to, especially people that, work with us, with our children. So we want to make sure that, they're taken care of so that everything is stable when we come back. Right.
Right. So here's a question. So Josh, your kid's probably in school, right? Now?
Yeah.
So
he's in kindergarten.
So I have Anwar is asking again. He's saying that he's got a sister in Pakistan, and she has her nephews in lockdown, and like all of us do with our kids, and they're totally freaked out about when the restrictions lift and they start opening schools. Are you going to send your kids back immediately when it's open?
I was thinking about that today. I think about that every day, actually.
Good question.
I have mixed feelings about that. I try to follow the science of this, right? And obviously what New York is on, because that's where we live. I have to take my cues from New York City. I mean, we've already talked about when we're going back. I was planning on being back there by June. The university I work for, should I say it? I don't know. Anyway, is
up to you.
New York
Depends
University.
on what you say after you say it.
Yeah, I know. That's fine. Anyways,
that obscure institution, New York University.
Yeah,
it's probably safer to not say it, just in case.
So to answer your question, he's not going back to school. Anyway, school's closed in New York. He wouldn't have to go back until September.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they.
Have they said that in New York that it's out for the summer? It's not opening until September. The schools.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it depends too. I mean, like different I don't know what other private universities are doing, but everybody's monitoring and sort of deciding how they want to stagger employees and students into school. There are summer programs.
There's no plan, Ali. Every school and every institution has their own plan. There's no leadership. Top down.
My short answer. I mean, look, if I think that if I decide and within a reasonable doubt that it's unsafe, I'm not going to put my kid in school. But this is the other thing though, because like I have the same conversation with me, like, okay, COVID-19 disproportionately affects older people, and from what we know, yes, but we still are learning more as we progress through this about this virus and this disease, and yes, there's still, I mean, there's more than one strain as right now, and also there's cases of children in New York.
There's that new stuff that's coming up where their little kids are getting these weird ailments.
What they're getting is that these kids are contracting the virus and experiencing COVID-19. They're experiencing like mild forms of COVID-19, and they're surviving these mild forms of COVID-19. But what's misunderstood is how children are able to respond to the virus that where older people are not, but these kids then have to, after they survive COVID-19, yes, mm-hmm. they then experience these hyper-inflammatory multi-organ system responses that ends up being a cardiovascular disease or a cardiovascular
some weird after effect,
yes.
Right?
It's a hyper-inflammatory response. And it's just like, even so this is the way I think, and this is the way I think as a parent, and like, so, and it sounds irrational. I know how it sounds, but I just don't take any risks. So like when it's like, if the risk factor for, like a kid or my son is like a fraction of a percent, I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'm not gonna.
You're not gonna put them back.
I'm not. No, I just look. I mean, I try my best to weigh being reasonable and appreciative of statistical data and evidence yet, you know, it's just like it's difficult to when it's your own boy. Like I'm already kind of a worrywart anyway.
Mhm.
So, and now being a parent it's almost like the shit gives me PTSD. I've had nights where I couldn't sleep. I'm not even kidding about that. And but my imagination is going away with me. I'm sleeping at night. I'm like, I can't fucking. Plus, I have to like, you know, it's well, and I don't even get to. I sleep in like another room. So we're in our mother-in-law's house, and it's been great here, and there's plenty of space. There's a big yard and all this, but you know, there's separate bedrooms. But like the one other available bedroom is just big enough, like for my wife and my son, and like you know, they sleep together, and then I sleep in another bedroom by myself, and I haven't had to do that since I was like a bachelor, and it's actually I've never gotten used to that, and I've been here for what, almost 2 months.
Yeah, but I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's also not your place, right? Like it's your in-laws.
That too. Oh yeah.
Like you always have that in the back of your head. This is not my place. This is not my bathroom. I can't do what I need to do in this bathroom the way I want to do it. I gotta be like,
well,
courteous.
I mean, we're gonna get to the bathroom thing. Because gosh, if I can't have you on here without talking about the whole bathroom, you know, issue. But
yeah, well, that's you and me. We have a, you know.
There we go.
I don't really
we got
have
that desi, you know, like 30.
we have our own bathroom. It's been look. This is, you know, like Johnny, or sorry, not Johnny, but Ali. You know, this is what do you call it? The dad pandemic.
Yeah, dad pandemic.
But like what?
Dad-demic or something, yeah.
But the one thing, my takeaway for me that I've thought about this a lot, and I've been really shocked and pleasantly surprised at this. Like, you know, you might have heard people talk like, "Oh man, I'm quarantined up with my wife, my kid. They drive me crazy. This fucking sucks." And,
that's great.
But dude, it's been honestly, and so for me, I'm with my boy, my wife, all day long, every day, and my in-laws.
Yeah.
Okay. So you know, you might think that equation would generate like a lot of negatives, but it's actually been really, really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I have to. I have to echo. There's like negative. Obviously, there's negatives, right? Like, there's negatives. I went out the other day and drove somewhere.
Dude, I argue with my wife in less now than I did in New York when I see her less. You know, it's like I'm at work, she's at work, my kid's at school, and we do our thing, and
you get your arguing out.
Yeah, but like it's just.
Well, a lot of it's about. I think it's about procrastination too. Like now I find I can indefinitely procrastinate. Like, there's something I'm like, it's like, oh, I want to have this now. No, I'm chilling. It's okay. I can talk about it tomorrow or the day after. It's not like, okay, I have to talk now, then I have to go to work, and then, you know. So there's none of those things.
Well, I mean, I have work every day. Like I have clients, and I have to get work done every day.
Too, but
we're working every day, but in the sense that we're working.
But like cleaning the house is like, okay, well, who's coming over? Nobody. Do I need to really do it today? I do tomorrow.
Yeah. So that's the stuff I want to get to. Like it's just some of the things that we're doing. So one of the things that freaked me out is with my daughter. My daughter goes to daycare like 5 days a week. It took me a long time. I had her when I was 41, and I was very used to my ways before that. And it took me a while to kind of really get into being solo with her. Yeah, just alone. I was very terrified for actually the first couple of years, 2 years probably. I was like, if I'm on my own with her, like, what am I going to do? What if I break her? What if, you know, I don't know what to do. So it took me a while. Now I'm very comfortable with it. Right. As my wife started traveling and things like that. So even on my days off, when I had my days off, I'd still drop her to daycare the whole day and then, you know, pick her up later.
Is she still going to daycare now?
No, she's not.
Okay, yeah.
How old is she again?
She's 3.5 now.
Yeah, but, so you guys got little, like, your kids are toddlers. They're still toddlers. Like it's different. The whole dad dynamic is different.
Yeah,
I know. I was terrified initially. I was like, okay, she's gonna be home all day. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna mess her up, and then she's gonna grow up and
You're so
be
funny,
started, get pregnant, do drugs, and
So what? She'll be fine.
That's fine.
I mean,
she might do some of those things. Hopefully, she doesn't get pregnant. But
I don't mean hard. Yeah, hopefully. Well, let's see.
I think about those things all the time. I mean,
you think about?
I think about
pregnancy.
No,
I have a son. Okay.
No, actually, well, I mean, I could.
Nowadays it would be transphobic.
He could impregnate someone else.
That's true.
But I think about what I've always said to my wife that, man, like, what if he who knows what? It's just, there's so much you can do, and the kids will be like a beautiful kid up until. So you guys got girls. I don't. I have a boy. And by the way, I always wanted a girl, and I still do. And I imagined myself as a father with a daughter, and I got a son instead. That's okay. I love my boy, but so I have. I always feel like I identify with men who have girls vicariously. My brother, my brother has a daughter and a son his son's a little older than my son. But he has a daughter she's 13, and she's like, her hair is either pink or blue, and she's been an atheist since she was 10 years old. She's this New Yorker little badass bitch, and she's smart as a whip. But she used to be. Her name is Fiona. Oh man, Fee was so sweet, and she is, but it's. And
no,
but
turn out I'm not worried about the actual what
I'm saying, but what's probably going to come your way is like my brother, like he they butt heads so much, and I'm like cool uncle, but even it like we were having whiskeys at he's like, dude, meet me in this whiskey bar. We met and we were drinking whiskey. This is on Amsterdam and like 1/10 and in New York, and we got drunk, and he was just like, man, he's at the stage where daughter used to think he was a fucking hero, and now no matter what he does, she thinks he's such a square. It's that phase.
I can't wait.
That's inevitable, right? That's inevitable. That's going to happen. And when I say that, the drugs, getting pregnant, everything, I'm just I'm joking about that part. But the part,
real rock stars, movie stars, those kids do the same thing. They're like, "Dad, you're such a square," and they're the whole world will be like, "This is GQ,but the daughter or the son will be like, "You're such a dork."
What I mean is what I mean is negative influence. Like I hope I don't when I was like, oh shit, she's gonna be around me all the time, and then now I'm gonna either neglect her or give her too much attention or not give her any attention, and then because there's this thing that fathers and every girl you meet has had some.
Ali, think about this. Not forget about girl. Every guy, everybody you've met.
Have
you met a normal person? Right? Like, what is not traumatized look like? I don't know. Life is trauma. Life is suffering. Right? Yeah. Whether you do it or somebody else, somebody's going to do it. So you need to just think about.
Do it ahead of time.
No, not that.
Okay,
it's just like
totally
be the person that you'd want to be. You'd want to have interact with you if you had your traumas being aired out to somebody. Like, or she. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's exactly.
What I can say though. I think this goes for both boys and girls. And I got in a lot of trouble as a teenager. I caused my brother a lot of grief. But the one thing, and I had lots of friends who got in lots of trouble too. But the difference between them and me, even at that age, is that if they got in trouble with their parents, they didn't feel bad about it, whereas I did. You see what I'm saying? And I I kept doing the same thing. I was a knucklehead. I kept fucking up, but I loved my mom and my dad a lot, to the point where it was like I hated that they were upset with me, even though I just kept repeating it. And so I remember when I got old enough, I was like, well, it's a big difference. You know, like if you've ever known somebody who just a dysfunctional family, a dysfunctional relationship between a son or daughter and their parents, where, you know, it's like, oh, it doesn't seem like you even fucking care that they're upset.
Yeah, no, I've seen that before. Yeah,
you see them, you know what I'm talking about. Where I always care that my mother was upset. I always care that my dad was upset. Yeah, and you get over that hump. You know, how many years does it take to stop being a teenage cunt? Like 13 to 18, I don't know, but like, you know, it's like, and next thing you know,
I never stopped being that way.
But but like,
that's what I should title this podcast or this live stream, whatever it is. Teenage cunt would be amazing.
It could be your next band.
Yeah. Hey, there you go. That's a really good name. No, the bands. We're gonna talk about band names later, but yeah. My whole thing is like, if I'm here with her, there's, you know, this is one thing where and I always joked about them. Like, if you want your kid to really be something, you got to neglect them a little bit, right? You got to fuck them up a little bit, because you never see a documentary about some iconic figure where it's like, oh yeah, parents were great, no issues, everything was good, wasn't bullied at school, no, nothing. Anybody who's successful has been anywhere. You know, came from a broken home, went through some hard
not necessarily broke, but they had to go through some sort of adversity, right?
They had to
overcome adversity.
I was like, if I screw up something, I'll probably build character.
Yeah, but Ali, come on, man. You're not going to do that.
I think I need to start neglecting a little bit more. No, well, okay. So,
I mean, not yet.
Well, you can either give them you give them.
How old is she? 3? Don't start neglecting her now.
I know. I'm joking. I can't. That's one of the problems.
Wait till she's 4, then you can start neglecting her.
She's you know, we all have cute kids, and that thing's there for a reason biologically, to make sure that you don't neglect them, because they're
that's the problem. So another thing is, like, I had her. Okay, so one of the pluses is that I'm going to be 45 next week, actually, and now, you know what happens in your 40s. I don't know how well, Johnny, you're close to my age, right? You're a little younger 41. Than me. Yeah, I don't know how old Josh is, but
I'm 38.
Oh, you're 30. Okay, so you're still
almost there.
So what happens once you get towards your mid 40s? All of your problems kind of go away, in the sense that the stuff that was problematic about you that you had to deal with and fix, you've either done it already, or you just thought, hey, you know, I tried, it's not working. Yeah. You just accepted yourself and embraced everything. So
I've heard that.
Yeah, you don't.
I agree.
And I notice this because my wife.
I'm already experiencing some of that.
Yeah, it starts happening early, around the late 30s, but around mid 40s, probably where you're at. You're like full blown in it. Like, there's no questions anymore.
I've gone through things that I went through when I was younger, and when I go through them now, they just, I'm like, oh, okay.
But people, like, what I've noticed is the most confident men I've ever met, and probably women as well, are in their 50s, right? Like, when you've gone through the 40s already, you've established that. When you get in your 50s, now you're like, no one can say youngin' to me anymore.
Yeah, now,
now no one's calling me kid no more at all. Like, even when you're in your 40s, I get called kid all the time. That's the way I hold myself. You know, like, I act like a kid.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Because when you're in your, I mean, like, I have a ton of friends who are in their 50s and 60s. And they would still do the youngin' shit. If they can squeeze it in, they'll drop that on me. I'm like, okay, yeah. Or, oh, you're such an old soul for somebody is young. You know, I mean, things like that.
Right.
But but there has to be. You're right. I think I'm with Johnny. Like, after 50s, like, I don't care how old you are. No, an 80-year-old can't say that to you. Like,
but then when you hit your 60s, you're like, now you start acting like you're the old man. So 50s, you're still not the old man. You're not a kid anymore. 60s, you're
Yeah,
like,
but you guys,
all right, kid. You start calling other people kid. You know?
Yeah,
well, it
Aaron.
reminds me of what Ali was saying. Like, there's things you just don't care about, and I don't know if you guys watch Bill Maher, who I love, and he's in his 60s, and he was just remarking on, like, I think he's like, I don't know, mid 60s, early 60s, and he's like, there's just some things I don't, and I can say that now. I think, like, oh, I've never been to China. I don't give a fuck if I never go to China ever.
It's like,
you know, like
really cheap tickets to Wuhan right now. Like, it's a great deal.
Yeah, but like I remember, but like it reminded me, like I had this sort of inverse sort of idea, like when I lost my mother, and I'm not gonna get like, you know, depressing. I just, this is when the thought came to me. I lost my mother 4 years ago, and I remember for the first time, and I was sort of philosophizing about her mortality, because, you know, you lose a parent, and Johnny knows what I'm talking about. You almost feel the mortality is your own mortality, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, man, Mom has never been to, I don't know, India, for example.
Yeah,
and that's just obviously never going to happen now, and oh man, I mean, and she's been to some places, but she's never been to most places, and although that's not on the surface a very interesting thing, but it astounded me, and I was thinking, oh man, I'm never going to go to most places either.
Yeah,
I may never go to India, even though I would love to. I hope to one day, but like I'm probably never going to go to Kazakhstan. You know, I'm going to die. I'm never going to do most things, and you know, and it's just like, yeah, certainly at some point I'm just not going to give a shit whether I do or not.
Yeah, I'm more like
there's a, you know, there's a whole bunch of things I've already checked off that I already know I don't want to do.
Well,
like,
here's the thing for me.
I don't want to go skydiving. Like,
so here's the thing for me, though, personally. Like, I know a lot of people. We've all met through music. We've met tons of people through our jobs, whatever. Most people have kind of like mediocre experiences. I already know. I've been in rock bands. I've toured. I've done music videos. I've gone to different countries. I've done things that a lot of people haven't done. So when I actually, I mean, we all kind of had kids a little bit later, 30s and 40s. One thing I know,
like I'm missing out.
I don't feel like, I see like a 20 something, and I'm like, oh man, like, yeah, there's a thing about having a kid when you're young, but like, I don't have any like, oh, I didn't do this and now I can't.
I don't have that. That's a good place to be, because I think I've done a lot of cool ass shit too in my life.
I'm sure you have.
And there's a bunch of shit I hope to do one day. I don't spend all my time thinking about it. I just think about, you know what I'm saying? That's a good place. That's the place you want to be.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I don't
have FOMO anymore, right? Like, I don't know fear of missing out anymore.
Exactly,
having a child it will reprioritize what, you know, all the things you've imagined doing.
Actually, there's one thing I fear. I have a fear of missing out, and I miss it out all the time. That's rest.
Burning Man,
sleep.
Yeah, that's gonna come back. You know, like I think that's the same thing with me, and I notice this because like my wife's a lot younger than I am, right? And
I never had that issue.
Huh? Yeah,
I never had the sleep issue. I was lucky. Yeah. My son slept. He ate.
Hey, by the way, is it tough for you, like having gosh, if you're talking about your kids sleeping or you sleeping?
Oh my God, they don't. Well, the little one, understandably, she wakes up when she wakes up for milk, right? Like that's what little babies do. But Johanna, oh, sorry, I didn't want to say her name, but my wife's gonna kill me now. But anyways, you know me, I say it all the time with my friends. Yeah. She is, she has a hard time sleeping through the night most nights. I think I can count on one hand, maybe two hands now, how many times where like we woke up in the morning and go, did she wake up in the night? No, wow. Yeah. And she doesn't just wake up. She doesn't just wake up. She wakes up and starts yelling for somebody, and she will just do it. and you know, sometimes you're just tired, you don't wake up. I'm there for like 30 minutes. You can tell she's been doing it for like 30 minutes. You go in there, tears, her face is bright red, sweat, and you're like, oh man, you need to just sleep, girl.
No, but I'm noticing like the sorry, Anwar's got another comment. He's saying that he's like, I'm starting a nephrology fellowship at 44. I've got the wisdom and there's still energy if you're healthy. But that's not what we're talking about, Anwar. We're not talking about complacency. We're talking about I guess there's a difference between complacency and content.
Like if people are going, oh, I'm going to this festival, I don't feel bad going.
Festivals stopped being fun since
that's
the
my
90s
point. Like
anyway.
whatever it is, like somebody's like, oh, I'm going on this trip. I'm like, that's good for you, awesome. I will go on a trip when I go on a trip and I have time and I can fit in my schedule. But I don't feel like I'm missing out. Like I see there, you know, some people are like see Facebook photos of people having fun. They're like,
I'll tell you, I'm sure Johnny can relate to this since we both live in New York and have kids. And we were bachelors in New York and we played in rock bands. One of the things that I love about being a dad in New York is that like there's always, like before the fucking plague, there's always shit to do. You know, I got more friends than I probably want, and and it's like, but I look forward as shit to just like hanging in the nest on Friday, unless there's something I feel like I should be at, and even then I'm like, I might look for a reason to not go, but I'm like, babe, do you want me to? He's like, no. I'm like, good. I didn't want to go anyway. It's like just staying the fuck in because there's probably too many things to do anyway, and I really love being in the nest with my trio family, and like, I mean, it's probably I'm not sure. So my son's 5, like he can sort of do shit on his own and like hang out with us and watch movies with us or something,
or just hang out behind you as you're doing a live stream. You're just in the background doing things.
Right? Yeah. Like, you know, I don't have to like. It's been a long time. Where is he? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right. Yeah.
So, but
you don't have that moment of like, it's too quiet. Let me see this. That means she's up to no good.
Those days are over, man. Like all I have to do now, man. Like he'll be in his room, and I'll be like, Jess. He's like, what? You all right? Yeah. It's like, okay, just checking.
One of the things, one of the things coming up now is that you have, so you have, you know, we're all cis hetero males, right? That's how we identify, at least, right? Correct. So we all have partners, and there's like this whole thing that when
we're all cis hetero white male. Oh, wait a minute, no, none of us are white.
Not all
100% actually here.
So we've got there's husbands and wives, you know, siloed together, and now both are working at home, and the cleaning people can't really come to the house. So you know, we actually have a cleaning person who comes to the house and does some of that stuff. So now we're doing all of that stuff ourselves. And it's really highlighting, you know, the differences between, you know, who does more, like does the guy do more, the girl does more, and you know, with the kids as well, you know, who because now it's really sort of balanced. So
who does more productive shit?
Okay, so that's what I want.
Yeah.
So this is going to be fun.
Mom.
So there was a study recently.
Mom wins.
Yeah. So there was a study that most women do feel that they're doing more. Most men think that they're doing half the work, but they're actually overestimating the actual amount that they're doing. I don't know exactly how they did the studies, so I don't really know. But how is that going at home? Well, I know when you have little kids. So gosh, if you have a baby, right? So there's only my daughter was born, she's just a few months old. It was very little I could do.
Are you talking to me or Johnny? I don't have a baby.
I was talking to Johnny because he's got one little one. So I know that when my daughter in the first sort of at least year, right, there wasn't a whole lot I could do. It was hardly. I mean, when she was pregnant, it was very idealistic.
Yeah, no, I mean, if I take her, I could take her for maybe. I think the most I've gotten her away from my wife was for like an hour, and that was pushing it like a half an hour, and she starts crying and wants mom like that. And most of the time it's like 10 minutes, 5 minutes. Once in a while, like if I can distract her, if I have both kids and we're watching something on TV that's interesting to the 2-year-old, then the 5-month-old may stay in my lap long enough where the wife can have some respite from the craziness. But
But in my case, I remember
it is definitely on the mom a lot when they're babies.
Yeah, this is the thing. Like,
I don't just really like orange juice.
Oh, okay. So what's in that?
Vodka.
Okay, there you go. That's what I thought. No, like when during the pregnancy, we're very idealistic. You know, that whole idea of, well, we're pregnant. It's, you know, both of us are in it together. You know, like you know how they say we're pregnant. No,
I never said that.
Yeah, I know. Neither did I. And then when she's in labor, if you go up to her, it's like, it's okay. You know, we're in labor. It's both of us. You know, we're both in the face.
Yeah, that's when you get shot.
Yeah, that's when you realize, okay, yeah, this isn't happening. We're both doing it. Then you can't say any of that egalitarian sort of type of stuff at that age. But now at this age, it's she's pretty much most of the time when it comes to entertainment and fun things, she's with me, and I do end up, I guess, spoiling her. This again, I'm 45, so there's things I don't care about. Like if she doesn't, no, like I remember there, you know, well, Johnny, you know, Pakistani parents, right, and Indian parents, like kids like 1.5, and they can recognize letters off signs on the street. Like, oh, that's a B. They can read, and
yeah.
I'm like, I don't care if she learns how to read.
Well, how many adults have you met? I mean, there are adults that can't go through the school.
She's eventually going to learn how to read. She's going to know her numbers. I don't give a shit if she can't count to 100 by the time she's 3.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
you just have to have. Yeah, they just.
I had a cover shit to see. Yeah, I mean, sorry to interrupt you, but
yeah, go for it.
Yes. Yeah,
I had a coworker who talking about somebody that was like upset because their kids were not getting their teeth in time, and I'm just like, okay, well, how many adults have you met that don't have
their teeth? They're gonna come in.
Don't worry about it.
No, but there's one thing. Also, like I'm a physician, so I kind of know eventually these things will come in. And I've read about it. So I never really worried about it as much. But then it also comes across as being a little callous. So I go into one of the things that like Alishba has an issue with me is that I'm not very comforting when she's sick or she's in pain. Because
I've heard that.
No, but I'm a pathologist. Like I immediately go into diagnostics. I think I'm like, okay, is she gonna live or is she gonna die?
How old is Alishba when she had
30.
Your daughter?
Oh, when she had her, like 26. She's very young.
Okay, yeah. All right. Yeah.
So she wanted to do it early so that she could focus on her. You know, like people delay having kids so they can focus on their career first and then decide to have it. She thought it'd be better the other way around, to get this out of the way so that after this I could just do my shit. I can just work on whatever she's doing now.
I mean, both things make sense. I'm just saying from like that's a career oriented thought process where we as musicians had a party oriented thought process where like, let me get my partying out. Now that my partying is over, I don't care about partying.
Yeah.
I don't think dads give a damn about some things.
Right. And we're also men. We're privileged in that. We don't think about careers, right? We always have our careers. Career
or no career, I don't think that at a certain age and a new child that there are things that a mother will really, really care about that you just didn't think was worth really caring that much about. And I think a lot of that actually has a lot to do with just biology, personally, or evolutionary biology. But you know, I wanted to say, since Erin is here, she made a good point to me recently that never occurred to me, and so recently we were we taught our son to ride a bike, right? Like, so he got a bicycle, like a bigger boy bicycle. I put it together in the garage here, and he's like kind of pretending to help me put it together. It was a nice little dad son bonding fucking thing, and it was cool, right? And like, it was cool. Anyway, his training wheels. He's on the training.
It's beautiful at the same time when you
Yeah,
experience it.
no, it was one of those things, right? Anyway, it was fine. It was great. It was a sunny day, and then for the next few days, we're riding the bike with the training wheels on, and and the whole time I'm thinking like, man, like these training wheels. I always think they're like a hindrance. They don't really teach you how to ride a bike, and I was also thinking like, man, the only other kid I've ever seen fall off a bike on training wheels besides my son was me. And I'm like, how did you fucking fall off a bike like this? Anyway, we finally took the training wheels off, and I tried to teach my to ride a bike. We go out. Anyway, it wasn't very successful. So that was, we tried. Well, let's go back out the next day, and then we tried, and my wife accompanied me. We went to. I hope Aaron's listening to this, and we're fucking. Yeah, so we go across the street, and we have obviously right out the gate, obvious philosophical differences on what's dangerous for him or not. I mean, just when before we even got to where we wanted to start training him,
100%.
she wanted to go to the. I'm like, babe, why the fuck? No, we're already. There's no. Come on, there's no cars. Yeah. This is a residential shit. They're like just. She wanted.
This is where we drove bikes when we were kids. He's gonna drive bikes.
I know, but what is a? We're gonna waste all the time, and it's like no, we're gonna do it right here, right now. And so we are the tension already began. So like we're fucking, and so I grab him by the back of the seat, and I kind of like run with him so he can get momentum. But I'm trying to teach this dude. I'm getting frustrated myself. Like, Jesse, you're never gonna learn to ride if you don't get momentum. Eventually, you're gonna have to learn to push yourself off and start your own engine. Okay, I'm just gonna push you. You're gonna pedal. I'm going to give you the momentum, but somehow you're going to have to push yourself off the bike like on your own. There's no point anyway. And so we did a lot of that. And then we got to a place where I pushed him and I was running with him, and he was kind of going, but then he was about to run it, fall. He was kind of all over the place. He was about to go into this ditch, but he got scared of the ditch. And so he stopped pedaling. At the same time, like yelling, like, don't stop pedaling. There's no fucking point. Don't stop pedaling. You're going to fucking fall. Keep pedaling so you can keep going. And fuck the ditch. And just like in Misty, my wife's just like yelling at me. Here's that ditch. He's going to fall in the ditch. You can't let him go in the ditch. I'm like, damn the ditch. Let him just keep pedaling. So if he goes in the ditch, he goes in the fucking ditch. He'll learn to steer his way out of the ditch next time because he realized that sucks up on the ditch. And so she's yelling at me.
Yeah.
Because she goes into mom mode, his safety, and she's yelling at me. I'm like, the fucking neighbors. It's like you can hear her voice.
Yeah, it's amazing. They're like the New Yorkers are in town.
Oh, it was like we were making a scene right there in the middle of the street in this. And I'm thinking, we're not in New York City. You can't fucking. You're like yelling at me. Everybody's going crazy. And so I'm going. When I fucking walk, like you can make a scene in New York and no one looks at you. We're making a scene in this quiet, and everybody, and everybody's standing outside their fucking windows. We look fucking crazy, and Jesse's on the ground there. Anyway, to get to my point, so I told Aaron about that, and because we communicate, as Ali knows, and she said. She pointed out to me that my wife had my son. She was, I don't know, 36 or something, later 30s, as opposed to having when she was, say, 22. And later in life, her only boy had to pass her quote biological clock So evolutionary speaking, to me, that's what the first thing it spoke to. It's like, well, it makes tons of sense. You know, you're only offspring at the very, like, probably the last leg of your biological clock, the only one you're going to have, probably. You're going to be that much more protective of. And then, and I was thinking, and I was like, oh man, that explains so fucking much. And you know,
it could be. I mean, there is
but there's a difference. I think part of it though is like I do this. I don't. You know, my wife and I are closer in age. We're only 3.5 years apart, right? So I don't. But we'll go to the park, for example. We'll go to the park, and they have the little toddler slide that's like, you know, you can grab them at the top level and pull them down. It's like not very high. And there's like the bigger kid slide. And on day one that I took her myself and not my wife taking her, I took her and I let her go up all by herself to the top and all by herself down the slide, and she loved it. And later that day, my wife shows up and they go down the slide together, right? Because she's afraid. And I'm just like, she already went down the slide by herself like 100 times.
But I gotta say, if this is not, this is, so I have to say this. I don't think that this is a strict gender difference. I think that there's a. It also depends.
Roles. There's two roles in most parents, and I've seen it flip genders too.
Yeah, it is too.
One is the warrior and one is not.
So I'll tell you one thing, like, and it also depends whether the kid is a boy or a girl, right? So I see this with my brother. I mean, he's a lot sort of tougher on his son. He's like, yeah, just go out there. You can do it on your own. His daughter, he's a little bit more like we grew up with these associations, and we've been socialized in certain ways where we think we need to, like, fathers are protective of daughters. I mean, it's a stereotype, right? And so I saw that there's this indoor playground that we had Zoe's birthday party at. It's my daughter. And there's usually like 100 kids in there at one time, right? It's in the mall. You don't go to the mall, kids go to the indoor playground. And I saw this, everything's padded and stuff. And the boy-girl ratio is about 50-50. So I know that, you know, I have a sample size. I know this is anecdotal and, you know, there's no study verifying this. But I was just seeing all of the boys is going around jumping on things, climbing things, jumping down, taking all these crazy risks while they're playing, whereas the girls were just...
Excuse me 1 second.
Sure, yeah. Well, the girls were just kind of playing it safe. They were a little more cautious. They were thinking about things. And then, you know, I wondered about that. You know, that joke they have that, you know, why do men have lower life expectancies? Well, aside from the fact that we don't have a complementary X chromosome. Just those racing cars and doing stupid jackass shit. And, you know, there's that stereotype. And I was wondering whether there is something to it.
I don't know. Man.
These are kids I'm seeing.
I let her go out and do her thing. And like, we bought for the house indoors since we can't go out anymore. So one of these things that I'm dealing with being in New York City, where there's just a ton of COVID cases everywhere, is that we are really strict about staying indoors. And so we can't go to the gym. We can't go to the playgrounds. The playgrounds are all closed. So I bought this.
Oh, I'm talking pre-COVID, by the way. I just want everybody to know before.
No, understood. But I bought this thing.
Start talking about COVID.
She can climb up and down.
Are going to come at me. Huh?
She can.
I don't know why about this, but they will. I just know they will.
Did you say the Bernie Bros want to come at you?
No, they're going to come. They're like, you know, why are you taking your kid to an indoor playground when it's COVID? And I'm just trying to say this was way pre-COVID.
Oh, gotcha.
So I got this thing, and she can climb up it. It's made of wood, and it's like we put it right in the middle of our apartment. And our apartment's New York City apartment, so small, so it takes up like 40% of our living space upstairs. And
you got a playground.
We got an indoor thing where you can climb up. It's like this pickler triangle,
shit.
But it's
that's in the middle of your living room.
Yeah, and you know, people around me are like, you're letting your kid go down. I'm like, yeah, this is the time where she can learn her dexterity and climbing abilities. If she does it now, she might win me a gold medal in the future. You know, no, I'm not actually going to do that.
No, extenuating circumstances, man. You know, it's just like all bets are off when it's quarantine.
Right. It's a very unique. I don't think anybody that we know of in our lifetimes and our parents' lifetimes have ever experienced something quite
It's-
like this before.
It
Maybe
is,
a
yeah.
couple of days here and there, but no one 2 months. Man, I've been in more than 2 months. I've been indoors for the most part. We go out, walk around in the area with the masks on, but we stay like within a couple block radius. And
Yeah.
um,
So
That
one
wasn't a
thing,
joint, by the way.
this is more, I guess, it's more of a general thing rather than a pandemic thing. So there are there are studies that show that after having children, right, men's testosterone levels drop significantly compared to the men who don't have children. So low testosterone
I
levels.
will.
Huh? Do you experience anything like that? Did you think
So
that?
I will say that I have more
How would you know?
empathy, more emotions. Things will make me tear up a little bit more than before. But at the same time, like, you step up, I'm gonna knock you down. Like
That might be age dependent too.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
could be.
we're already old, so we already lost our testosterone.
No, I mean I'm saying what I've heard that too. What Ali said that I'm sure this age dependent a little bit, but I don't know if mine have gone down. It's certainly more important.
So what would be a symptom of? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like they say that, but like, how would you know that's happening, right? Like,
you hear a lot of. Well, I don't know. It's.
I mean, I can still work out. I can still do adventurous things. I bought a crazy electric board thing that I'm learning how to ride. I hurt my ankle.
That's not testosterone shit.
I'm just saying that, like, I'm just trying to say, like, what is what?
So low testosterone, so you can have irritability. So it's actually very similar to I remember there was this thing that was once it was called irritable male syndrome, and someone had described it, and they said this is men who have low testosterone. They tend to become more irritable. They tend to snap at things more. They've got lower libidos.
I was gonna say lower libido. I was gonna say, have you ceased to lust after your wife? For me, I can say I can check. First of all, I haven't stopped lusting after my wife, and 2, I am more irritable. But I'm not sure if that's. I haven't I'll get irritable because I can't find my fucking keys before I have to leave the house or something like that.
I don't think I've ever been irritable. Like, I've always been irritable.
Yeah, you've always but you haven't noticed it. That's what I'm saying. You haven't noticed a difference. Like, I noticed there were certain things. One of the reasons I'm terrified of having kids for so long is because, the best example is that story of the dude who's took his 4-year-old to I think it was a zoo or something, or park, and there was an alligator there in the lake, and the kid fell into the lake, into the water with the alligator, right? So this guy, as I'm sure all of us would do, jumped into the water and started wrestling with the alligator to get a kid out. Now, before I had a kid, I knew that there was virtually no chance that I would ever jump into the water to wrestle with an alligator. I just wasn't going to do it.
Sure.
And having a kid has made it more likely for me to jump into lakes and wrestle with alligators.
Well, to me, that's like selfish gene theory. For me, it is selfish gene theory. I mean, that's the whole point. Well, part of the point of selfish gene theory. I'm talking about Dawkins.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I could draw a straight line from an example like that to lower testosterone in men. Even if there is.
I'm saying, I was gonna say that, like,
I mean,
even if there's a drop, I would not say it's significant, like what people would think of.
It's not low enough that you're not gonna save your fucking kid from.
Guarantee you, if you lift weights, you're still gonna build muscle. This testosterone will still be there.
It is true that the testosterone is reduced. I mean, women's estrogen gets reduced in age. As well, I don't it's different for women. I mean, men, you could sort of regenerate a bit more if you regularly exercise and resistance and things, things like that, and probably what you eat. But
I think you're right in the sense that I mean, there's no way to tell when you're living it. Whether
I don't concern myself with it personally.
Yeah,
when you're talking about libido, if you're super under.
What's up, Lace?
Huh?
Bitch. I'm saying, what's up, Lace, bitch?
There you go.
Speaking of, that's one of my old bandmates.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, so...
Were you going to say, speaking of no.
He's misgendering us. No, you have... So there's this thing that, you're losing sleep. So, when you talk about the libido thing, the low libido, you're losing sleep. You're, if your kid's waking up twice a night and all that stuff, a lot of that sleep deprivation, I just need to sleep, or, and you're working at the same time, that could sort of mask itself as well. But there's no actual telltale sign. It's not like your penis shrinks or something. Well, especially in the case.
Actually,
I know one of us over here.
I think your penis grows.
I'm not gonna. Okay, no. Well,
no, I'm serious. I think it continues to grow, even from like 22 pre-kids. You have a couple of kids. You're 43. I think your penis is thicker.
Well, I know that one of us.
I'm serious. I think it's bigger.
Is just 2 inches from the ground.
Yeah.
I hold it
in my socks.
Hey, listen, it's just something.
Do you guys watch The Simpsons? And now that's something I bonded with my son over.
I don't really watch The Simpsons
do you remember,
right now.
Really? So Flanders?
Yeah,
the character.
I know Flanders.
Okay, so he's like this Jesus freak guy, doodly. Yeah. And there's this scene in Simpsons.
He's an evangelical.
Like he takes his clothes off, he's like fucking jacked.
Yeah.
It is, but his dick is hanging to the floor, but blurred out all the way to the ground.
I've seen that.
My son and I tonight, even before I did this podcast or this show or whatever, my son has bonded. We've bonded over The Simpsons during quarantine, and like I ever since I got the Disney Plus. Oh,
it's amazing! Disney Plus.
So great, and I'm like, oh my god, they have all the Simpsons, and I just started watching it because I've watched The Simpsons for like most of my life.
Yeah, me too.
And my son, like, he'll be fucking around with his shit, and then he looks up like it's a cartoon, but it's one he's never seen. It's like, oh, this is pretty. I think I like this, and so next thing you know, he's watching with me in New York, but since we've been in North Carolina here, like he puts it on his iPad. We're outside watching on his iPad, and I'm like, Jesse, rewind that part, and he'll like fucking rewind it, and like we love it. He loves it, man, and it really is. It amazes me because I'm like, Jesus Christ, do you know how old? Because he would ask me like, Dad, have you seen this episode? I'm like, are you fucking serious, man? I've seen this episode 30, 40 times, man. Like, so this was around since like decades before you were a goddamn. Anyway.
Oh yeah, 1990.
Oh my god! Yeah, I'm like, dude, this. Yeah, he thinks he's like showing me shit.
I think it was 89.
You know,
but I'm kind of seeing that. Okay, so I'll just see with a lot of the kids nowadays, and I'm talking about nephews and nieces and things like that who are in their teens. I'm seeing they're listening to a lot of music from way before they were born. They're watching a lot of movies and TV shows from where.
Right.
And when I was that age, it was really uncool to be listening to something that was like super.
No,
super
you
old.
listen because when we grew up in the 90s, man, like you listen to our music was good.
It's like
they're listening to our music.
The 90s was a great decade, man.
It was but there was also listen. Anybody who's whatever decade you're in, people think that's. I believe me, I know people. Would think
it was a great decade.
It was a great decade.
For music, it was a great decade. Like
for music, there was no terrorism.
Yeah, there was, but it wasn't like
really.
It wasn't like a level.
Yeah,
it wasn't at the level where it's on.
It was like that. It was like
America
Yeah.
had people had jobs. America had money. Music was fucking nice. TV was great. It was
Oh, the Clinton years.
it was simpler times.
Then he
It
made
was,
yeah,
it was definitely simpler times.
He
We're
made
like,
jobs mainstream.
And yeah, like the first ever reality TV was reality
there was
TV.
no
The first Real World.
social media in the early 90s. And
Remember? Do you remember Real World? The first fucking Real World.
All right, guys. Yeah, we can't get into too much of the '90s reminiscence.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right. We're living in COVID right now. Not 90s.
When are we gonna talk about Donald Trump?
We will. We'll get to it. But okay, so yeah, I know we don't have a. Oh shit, the time just kind of flew by. So we can get to that now. I just wanted to ask you guys one thing before we did, because something there's an exchange I had with my daughter recently that made me sort of think about this a lot. But there's the COVID pandemic. There are people who are dying. My kid is actually very aware that people are dying because of COVID. She's 3.5. Josh, you said that your mom died. Kashif, I know that your dad died recently, and then I also, my dad also died. So my kid has started asking me now about her grandfather. So she asked me. I was dropping my mom off once to her place, and then she asked me. And it's not something like I don't really talk about it to my friends a whole lot. So my daughter asked me. She said that she said, this is your mom, right? And I said, yeah, that's my mom. Your grandma is my mom. And it's like, well, where's your dad? Like, where's your dad at? And then I told her, I was like, well, he died. And she became really quiet. And then after like 20 seconds, she's like, you know what? And she's sitting in the back of the car seat and I'm driving. She's like, if you one day, you can take me there. And if you give me my horn, I'll blow my horn. And then your dad, he won't be dead anymore. And he'll be alive. And she started talking about how she's going to call him. And it was just like, I had never heard that. And she was so compassionate and she was so empathetic about it. And it was really weird. And I thought I was wondering what she thinks about death and how, whether I should be talking to her, what I should be saying to her. And I know that she watched The Lion King and she does relate to Simba, when his father dies and Mufasa dies and all that. So she's kind of aware of it.
Yeah, but it's different, right? When you're that age, you don't really.
You were gonna ask a question, or?
Yeah, no, I was gonna ask a question. Like, I think, especially with Josh, like your son is 5 years old, and how recent's it been since your mom passed?
It'll be almost not quite 4 years, like 3 and some change.
Okay, so he was so little.
He dealt with it. So, my son was 2 when my mother died, or about 2.
Mm-hmm.
But and he still claims to remember her. There's pictures of my mother in his bedroom. He's at the very minimum grown up around her image. I remember when he was 3 years old. My mom was, they called her like Mimi, and I'm like, hey, we're maybe my wife said it, or no, I asked him. I was like, where do you think Mimi is? And he pointed to the sky. I didn't say anything after that. I just found that interesting because I don't talk about heaven, and heaven's up, right? Anyway, But he dealt with another. So we recently, just in March, beginning of March, just before everything got fucked in New York, we buried his great grandmother, my wife's grandmother, Rosalia, and this was a funeral and everything, and he's grown up around her. And I've never, and I remember my wife wondered whether he should actually attend the burial part of all that, or the wake. I'm sorry, the wake. The wake and the burial were the same day anyway. And I said, no, he should. There's no reason why he shouldn't. My first wake and funeral was my grandmother, and I was 6 years old. and I never forgotten that. I remember seeing her face in the coffin. I remember being weirded out by it. As I remember a lot of things that day, actually.
Yeah.
But and so it seemed to me that it was perfectly fine that he should experience that. I didn't think it would be too hard for him. It wasn't. But what was the most interesting to me was the things he said in the car ride after, like leaving. We were going back to my wife's aunt's house, upstate New York. We're gonna have a party. She's got a big fucking family. There was gonna be a lot of alcohol, a lot of food, and and so, and I'm saying this in light of the fact, like, I'm an atheist, right? And my wife, she's a Buddhist, but it's otherwise a very godless household. We don't ever talk about God and shit. And he's ever since the funeral, including that ride home, he would raise questions about God. But like the questions they're kind of like about the properties of God, that he wasn't asking. He didn't take it for granted. He was like, so he'll, like, for example, he'll say some shit. So like, okay, so what? Like, you mean to tell me is God? So what is he? Is he naked? And you know, and my wife would be a whole lot more non-specific about it. Oh, God is everything, or he's nothing, you know. But she would use the word God like it's a noun. That's like it's a thing.
Like it's a thing. Yeah.
But I'm a whole lot. I just kind of let him explore his questions.
So, that's very interesting.
No answer is ever satisfactory. He always says, like, I'm even more confused now. Like, every time you answer, it makes me more fucking confused. I remember like when, like, before, like sometime in between my mom's death and his great grandmother's death, we're in New York. I guess I'm watching TV or something. He comes up to me. He's like, Daddy, do you believe in God? And I did hesitate, because I was kind of waiting for when he would finally do that. And I hesitated. I was like, oh, should I bullshit him or should? And I was like, you know what? I said, nope, I don't. And he ran into our bedroom to my wife, and I can hear him. He said, Daddy says he does. I'm like, I said I didn't. but then he asked me again. He asked me again since we were here on the patio outside, and he's like, do you believe in God? And I said, no, I don't. I've leveled with my kid as long as he's been alive, I think.
So,
and
what? My wife's a teacher, right? And she's specializes in early childhood education. One of the things that helps free thinking that I've learned from her is you tell them straight up what you believe, but then you follow up with, well, what do you believe? Right? Well,
right.
I don't believe in God, but these are, what do you think? And usually that allows them to, like, they're probably not going to believe in it, right? But like they may come to a point where they understand what, like, thinking about, or like anything, like, oh
yeah, no, we have the
God wears clothes. Well, this is what I think. What do you think?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, when you do that, they come up with like really interesting answers. Like one of the other things my daughter told me about when I was talking about my dad, and she's like,
you would do that. You would troll your kid.
Yeah. No, she came. He would come alive again. Then she's like, well, your dad. He's like, he's still alive in your phone and your computer, right? Because like whenever she sees pictures,
That's cute.
he's like, and I was like, it's like that's a very wise, profound, and comforting thing to say, for a kid. So it's they do come up with their own things, and sometimes they'll totally surprise you. But
yeah, they do. I mean, I've been fascinated by his sort of line. First of all, I was fascinated by the fact that he thought to ask, because we've raised him in a completely indifferent, godless household. We're not deliberately atheist household. We don't care. And then one Christmas, I think he was I think he was 4, and I'm in the kitchen. And he says, I don't know what he said, but he says something, and asked me a question about baby Jesus. and I looked at him like, who the fuck taught you that? How did you learn about baby Jesus? You didn't learn it here.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not.
That's interesting.
No, it is interesting to me because, but then everything he learns to me that I know I didn't teach him is interesting to me. I find my whole thing with raising kid, if there's one thing that fascinates me, that blows my mind the most, is how they learn languages, how they develop a command.
Pick up, especially like the nuanced stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's like, look, it's in how he's. So you guys have kids that are like 2 and 3, and they're learning English or whatever other second language you might be also that they're raised around. But there's a point where they develop a little bit of a command of that, and then once they have that command, they start executing ideas that for a fact you did not deliver to them. And maybe they got it from school, maybe they got it from TV, maybe they got it from YouTube, maybe they got it from being in New York.
Other family members.
You have no idea, you can't trace it, but you didn't give it to them, but they put 2 pieces together. They added 2 and 2, and they resolved that equation. It's just like a fucking it's like I can't, my son will hang out and just kind of talk and he'll say shit. I'm like, and I'll just look and I'll stop listening to what he's saying because I'm still getting over what he's actually saying. I can't believe he's saying what he's fucking saying right now.
I know
it's really, really is. And so when the God thing comes up, what's that?
I'm quoting Bill Cosby.
Oh, that's a perfect thing to do right now. This is great time to bring that up. Yeah, let's start quoting Bill Cosby.
Kids do the darndest things.
No, but with the God, but with the God thing, I'm giving him as much possible space to explore that in his mind. But I liked it. Take the coronavirus, for example. I leveled with him in New York City when we were leaving I'm like, look, man, we're going to go to grandma's place because there's a virus here. You've been out of school. It's called the coronavirus. It's making a lot of people very sick. And a lot of other people, it is killing them. That's what's happening. We're going to go out of town. And he's like, okay. And, a couple times, but I've heard him, he's been doing really well here and he doesn't complain. And a couple of times I've heard him say, man, coronavirus sucks. I miss New York. But then I ask him, come over here for a second, put the iPad down. And but it's just like
the iPad down is like a classic line.
That's like the modern version of stand up straight when you speak to me.
That's that's pandemic parenting right now. Just pretty much the most common quote. Put the iPad down.
But it goes to just this is a big larger part of this bonding I think our families experience through this. But I'm really going back to I level with my kid and I just want to know. And I asked him, what do you feel right now? We've been here for a long time. What do you think of all of this? Mm-hmm. And he was saying, he misses New York. He misses our apartment. He misses his room. He misses his toys. he misses our lifestyle, and 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 everything's been really, really, really good here, and he's been having a very happy. I think he's like a pretty tough kid because he's not bitching, but when you ask him, he'll tell you that I'm really fine. Like he is like, whenever I hear you guys use the word coronavirus, it makes me sad.
Yeah.
And like he knows that coronavirus is a virus that is the cause of COVID-19. Like he knows the difference. Like he knows what the fuck is happening here.
So is he like you guys? You live in you're living in the U.S. Obviously, you're hearing Trump all the time on TV.
That's right.
Yeah.
I always forget that.
He's taking like today. I found out he's actually been taking hydroxychloroquine. You know that, right? You guys heard that?
Yeah, apparently. But yeah, I wish she really was and wasn't lying. But
no, but
it's actually really bad if he's lying about it. That's
he's
terrible,
lying.
man.
He's
what a terrible.
I would bet
terrible human being.
I would bet every red cent to my name he's lying about taking that shit. He's not taking hydroxychloroquine. There's no fucking way he's taking that. He's like, I've been taking it for a week. He's not taking that shit.
He's also said he was getting tested every day. And if you ever seen how they do the swab test for this, I really doubt that as well. But here's like the question. So the earlier question that we talked about.
Wear a mask. He's definitely not putting that swab up his nose.
Yeah. But you know how we talked about whether if they opened the schools, would you send your kid the first day? And a lot of people say no, I wouldn't. Even if the government, because there's a lot of governors who are saying, yep, everything's open, go out, and then parents have to make their own decision about whether they want to trust the authorities or not. And that's what it comes down to, I think, because I living here in Ontario in Canada, right, and we have a conservative premier and we've got a liberal prime minister, and both of them have been working together, and both of them have done such a good job. There's like
yeah, but your conservative parliament it can't be all that conservative, and they're certainly not that partisan to be able to work with true. That's the see. This is what
no, but they are, Josh. Like the thing is that they tend to.
I don't follow Canadian politics, so go ahead.
No, I understand.
Not that closely.
Yeah. So, for instance, over here with the conservatives here are never going to touch the universal health care. We've got Medicare for all, essentially single payer. They're never going to touch that. They're never going to touch same-sex marriage rights. They're never going to. They've resisted in the past. They've had problems with it, but they know that the larger population is not going to support them if they do. So there are many of these social things that they're not going to touch. But there is actual really bitter partisanship over here as well between the conservatives and the liberals, and then the NDP, which is like the Bernie Sanders style party. And I know, like I've gone and I've testified to Parliament here, and I've seen even people who seem to be agreeing with me just not giving an inch because everything is just so polarized. So that happens. But with the pandemic, and I feel like in the U.S., a lot of people have forgotten how this worked after 9/11, when Democrats and Republicans actually did come together for a little while. But the thing is that I feel that our leaders here in Ontario, when they say, because they're listening to the scientists, they're listening to economists, they're listening to everybody, and when they say that, okay, it's okay to go back to work, I feel like, or it's okay to send your kids back to school, I feel like I'd be pretty comfortable sending them back. Whereas if I lived in Georgia and then the governor said, okay, guys, schools are open, send your kids back, I'd be like, no, fuck you. It's okay.
I'll tell you right now that if it wasn't Trump, if it was any other Republican that was president right now, it would be a very different story. It's Trump who has created this division, this hyper partisanship. Started in Obama, but it really bloomed with Trump. Like he epitomizes that fraction of the party that hated Obama, like that fraction that started this massive, we will not work with you at all. F you idea right now. There's going to be blowback from that because you know what? Every single liberal, every single Democrat, I don't care if you're centrist or not, wants to spit in the face of Republicans as soon as we have power again. And they don't understand that what you've done is that, like these protests, for example, like people are protesting to open the economy. Imagine the protest that's going to happen if Trump and the Republican side start saying, you're going to go back to school, and we don't care that 3,000 people are dying a day, like he said a week ago. That's actually happening. And he says, go back to schools. You think these armed protests are big? There's like 1,000 people at those things. You're going to have millions of people on the street because we know that the left will assemble when necessary. It's rare, but they do, and they have in the past. They did as soon as Trump was elected, they assembled, right?
I don't know. But do you think they? By the way, just a quick time. I know that it's like past midnight. You guys are,
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with the time.
10 more minutes.
Whatever you want, Money.
20.
You good? Do you have any early morning meetings? Anybody?
My first meeting's at 9 a.m., so I'm good.
Mine's at 10, so I'm good too. Yeah.
Mine's at 10. I'm okay.
So
yeah, but it's easy to scrum at 9 a.m. So it's like whatever. Like I listen.
I want but you, Ali, you were talking about the different factions of parties in Canada, and I don't follow Canadian politics all that closely.
Well, he's saying that they work together, unlike here. Yeah. Well,
right.
they don't usually, but now they are for this.
In the U.S.,
there's another problem. You're absolutely correct that. So first of all, before we even get to the whole partisan problem, is that even as a federal government's concerned, Donald Trump disinstalled all of the safeguards that would otherwise monitor all these things. So even before so when people are bitching about China lying and things like that, which I understand and I agree with the condemnations against China, but none of that, I don't give a shit about any of that, because it never made any difference to draw. Even if even China wasn't lying, Donald Trump wasn't prepared, because when they disinstalled these safeguards, and specifically I'm talking about the Directorate for National Health Security and Biodefense, which was the one safeguard that would otherwise monitoring global outbreaks, that would have seen the papers published in 2017, that was seen the papers published for the last 15 years about the myriad coronaviruses, specifically the SARS ones, the first SARS coronavirus and then the SARS coronavirus 2, that both bind to the ACE2 receptor in the human epithelial respiratory cells that cause COVID-19 and that caused SARS in, 2004. They would have known, they would have seen all of this, and they would have been planning ahead. So the thing is that to these idiots, that to keep these safeguards, these institutions running, costs some money, right? But they didn't see. They didn't think it would be the equivalent of I'm buying an iPhone, but I'm not going to buy the insurance with it because I don't want to pay the extra money, because I'm pretty sure I'm never going to drop my phone or break it.
Right.
And so you see what I'm saying? And so we weren't ever equipped to monitor and not break anyway. We never were, because they didn't care. Because Donald Trump or the people the idiots he hires, it's not about foresight. It's not about pre-planning or planning ahead. It's like, oh, pandemic's probably not going to happen. Why are we wasting? And so they took the director of the Director for National Health Security and
They looked at all the jobs that were available,
So
just like SimCity, and they unchecked everything they didn't understand.
No, but you'll hear Trump supporters say they didn't dissolve it; they reorganized it. But they reorganized it by dissolving it, and those people that worked for that directorate now work in like mass weapons, completely different jobs. And there was never an institutional fucking smoke alarm that was ever able to monitor a potential outbreak, let alone a fucking pandemic. Okay,
well, but my point is,
so then when it happens, okay, you have the dumbest man in America who's already fired everybody who was might call an adult over the last 3 years. And you have just the dumbest goons and lackeys, people who are not smart, people who are not experienced in the jobs they're supposed to be experienced in. And you see a fucking pandemic, or at least an outbreak in China and Wuhan, and then it's wreaking some havoc in fucking South Korea and in Singapore, and then it was fucking killing 1,000 or more people in fucking Iran, and we still didn't do shit. And so, but then by the time, and he's being briefed about this in presidential briefings, the warnings were there from scientists since 2017. The warnings were there for less. I mean, experts have been talking about coronaviruses, and there's many coronaviruses that come from bats. It's only a few that happen to bind to the ACE2 receptor in human beings. But they've been talking about coronaviruses for 15 fucking years. And if you had those safeguards, the experts and administration would have been knowing about this. If it was the Obama administration, if it was the George Bush administration, they would have been knowing about this. They put money in the same institutions. But when the shit finally, like what Johnny and what you were talking about, when the shit finally hits the fan, then it's all partisan. So now the messages are fucking mixed. Donald Trump said he's going to leave it up to the states. And do you guys know John McLeach or John? He's a presidential biographer. He's been on Bill Maher a bunch of times. But
John Meacham?
Yes, him. Yeah, Meacham. Yeah. So he was. I listened to him on Joe Biden's podcast recently, and I really recommend his podcast, by the way. And he was talking about FDR, and he didn't make it explicitly stated, but he was making an implication when he was comparing FDR, or he was talking about FDR during the Great Depression, but he made an implication. Like, imagine Donald Trump during the Great Depression. Imagine him doing what he did during COVID-19 and saying during the Great Depression, saying it to the states, you guys are on your fucking own, which is exactly what he did for this.
Yep.
And this is how fucking stupid he is. It isn't just that he flat-footed and dithered. I mean, de Blasio dithered. I mean, he was having issues with his own health department in New York City, who was urging him to close down the city like 2 to 3 weeks before he actually did that.
Right. So, yeah, de Blasio.
But he still took it seriously. He was just kind of a fuck up. Whereas Donald Trump.
Yeah, I have a question. And like you, okay, I guess Johnny, this is probably for you because you live in New York, but oh, are you there?
Yeah. I was getting a phone call.
So like Cuomo, right? He's the governor of New York. New York's had more deaths really than any other country in the world, right? Yeah. And more cases than any other country in the world. So is there?
Yes, Cuomo has not been as amazing as they've said to him. With that said, he should never have had to make the decisions he had to make. The problem is that he was expecting federal response, did not get it, and then finally took charge. When he took charge, things changed. But he took charge late because, just like everybody else who was dithering, just like Josh was saying, this is a federal issue. This is a nationwide issue, and the federal government failed to do what they needed to do, and they allowed the states to fail as well. And the states are failing and have failed, and New York there's definitely massive.
But they said like Cuomo dithered, but at least to Cuomo's credit, he was afraid of halting the New York economy. I mean, anybody in charge of New York would be afraid of that. It may be irreversible. The kind of economy in New York.
You're right. But the federal government done their job, it might not have he might never had to do what he did.
But Donald Trump was worse. He failed because he didn't even try. He didn't try because he didn't want to be accountable to a potential failure.
So this is the weird thing, right? Is that we've always thought of Donald Trump as a guy. He's the authoritarian. He wants to be a dictator. He loves Kim Jong-un, love letters to him. He loves Putin. He loves China, like MBS, all these guys. He loves the whole authoritarian thing. And when he got the opportunity, he's really going to go authoritarian. And then So in Hungary, you know what happened in Hungary? As soon as the pandemic hit, the leader over there got the chance to do a big power grab, and just essentially made himself a dictator in a way, because he had the opportunity to do that. Here, like this guy, when he had the opportunity to maybe, he could have probably gotten away with a lot of things, like declaring martial law or the kind of stuff that happens.
Yes.
But
Look,
what he did was he just said, "No, it's not me. It's not me. Governors take this. This governor's
this is what's so fucking crazy to me.
He's too lazy to be a dictator, right?
No, this is what's so exactly. So that's a really great point. And this is so Donald Trump had two options, right? And if he had just a modicum of any intelligence, if he saw two options. COVID-19, coronavirus will fucking ruin me. I could let it ruin me. Or he could have had the option. It's like, look, I'm going to show everybody what a fucking badass I am. I'm going to arise to this. I'm going to use the power of the U.S. fucking government and mass produce testing, PPE, and tracing. I mean, it's also just the logical and right thing to do.
Yeah.
And, just FDR but he didn't want to do that because, one, he distanced all the experts to really help him. I mean, Fauci doesn't count. Having a really smart scientist telling you recommendations is not the same thing as having an institution designed.
Policy administrators and people that know how to organize and all that kind of stuff.
Being surrounded by yes men, lackeys, and stooges. And also Trump being lazy, dumb, and unimaginative, and doesn't want to work hard, and knowing if he tries, he probably will fuck up, and if he fucks up, it'll be on him.
Yeah,
it'll be easier to it's up to I'm gonna let the states do it. That way, I'll figure out a way to tweet myself out of this. Take credit for shit that doesn't belong to me.
And not for nothing. Not all dictators are strong. A lot of dictators are lazy losers that do nothing.
But anybody, I don't care, a republic, if it was George Bush, if it was John McCain, if it was Mitt fucking Romney, obviously if it was Obama, any sane, serious leader would have done exactly what I just fucking said and did what Gavin Newsom did with the mayor of San Francisco, London Breeds or some shit, and just coordinate between them two, talk every fucking day, talk to surrounding cities and surrounding counties, make sure everybody's on the same fucking page and do the same fucking thing and aggressively tackle this shit and not just flat foot and twiddle your thumbs and shift blame and wonder or maybe not wonder.
California, that's a good point. California has a culture of taking charge, though. California has a culture of taking charge, though. They do the emissions. They have their own emission standards. They have all sorts of. So what California did was expected, and when New York has never had that same type of initiative as a state, as a city, California is always like, we're on our own. We are as big from a population standpoint, as a physical standpoint, as they're the sixth largest economy in the world by themselves, right, or something like that. I don't remember the number, but there's something like one of the top economies on their own. They never waited for Trump. They never waited for Trump. They never waited for federal response, right? Whoever it is. Every other state in the country is trained to wait for the federal government. California successfully did what, as much as people hate California for being as liberal as it is the most autonomous state in the country. It does things on its own.
Johnny's absolutely right about that. And I was wrong. If we had this conversation maybe a few weeks ago, I would have said, oh man, New York's, they bent the curve. They took that curve and made it its bitch, the rest of the country's doing worse. But California and Newsom and the mayor of San Francisco, they handled it better than I think anybody.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, California alone has a larger population than all of Canada, right? So California is 40 million people, and then Canada, it's
Canada's smarter than 40. I thought Canada was
Canada's about 37 million or something like that.
Oh,
So yeah, the largest, that one state in the U.S. is bigger than all of Canada, which puts things into perspective.
Yeah.
And they've had fewer deaths than Canada has. Like they've
I really do believe
around the same number of cases, slightly more maybe I think in California, but just in terms of deaths, less.
I think this is going to be the one thing that will ruin Trump's presidency.
Oh man, I don't know. I feel like I try to be an optimist, but I am just a little bit cynical about that because you know how many times we've said that.
No, I know.
I'm not counting my
no, but I mean, if you look,
eggs, chicken's eggs.
Yes, of course. Like anything can happen. I know that, but if there's gonna be something that does ruin this fucking guy's presidency, it will be this. If it's not this, it won't be anything.
If there is something,
but
I mean, what you were saying, Josh,
but Trump is scared shitless too. I mean, you got to look, and as also the Republican Party. I mean, they're not even lifting the finger anymore. They've fucking given up. And I mean, Obama Gates. That's a Hail Mary,
really?
dude. That's a fucking
Hail Mary. You're right.
That is a Hail fucking Mary. Obama Gate. And did you see when they asked him, "What's the crime?" And he's like, "You know the crime. Read the papers."
Well, I mean, Eric Trump is
what's the crime? Obama Gate.
Dude, he's bleeding out, man. He's bleeding out.
Yeah, or Eric Trump, his son was accusing Joe Biden of
I know,
pedophile, right? So that to me actually sounds like they're really scared because if that's the best you can do, they call Joe Biden a pedophile. But the thing is, they also know.
The thing is, Ali, he's not likely to make this better. He's not going to suddenly start doing anything. He's not going to start lifting a finger now. In between now and the next month, 2 months, summer, fall, it'd be the governors, but there's going to be probably different data because different governors have different ideas about what they should do. They have different opinions about the seriousness.
Right. Major cities and major states,
yes,
they're all going to do different things, and every corporation is doing its own thing.
Everybody's gonna be like, you guys are still dealing with that shit. We're still gonna be having the fucking COVID bullshit.
And people don't believe in it because it doesn't affect small towns much.
Dude,
Josh,
Trump is hurting the polls so badly, and he's hurting in every constituent that used to be part of his stupid base, and in all the same states. Trump is gonna, in my opinion. And I know, like, somebody will say, "Yeah, but you thought Hillary would win."
Yeah, no, that's all right.
I hate. Look, it's a stupid argument. I got another response to that, but like, my opinion in November, if based on the sheer strength of numbers, as in the number of voters, I think Trump would lose easily. However, the only way Trump to me could win is through God knows what rat fuckery, or voter suppression tactics. It's whatever. It'll be the shadiest election fucking ever for him to fuck.
Kashif, what do you think? How are you feeling? Are you cynical, or do you think? How do you think it's going to be?
So,
and which is possible, by the way. I'm not saying. I mean, I'm saying that's how he's going to win.
Yeah,
he's not going to win on the strength of fucking votes.
Yeah.
He didn't win on the strength of votes in 2016.
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely going to lose the popular vote. That's for sure.
Absolutely. But he only lost the electoral college by less than 1%.
Like 80,000 votes. But Kashif, what do you think?
Yeah, but he can cheat in those states. He doesn't have to cheat in California, but if he cheats in Michigan, or he suppresses the vote, whatever you want to call it, right? Or, right, like there are a lot of never underestimate stupid people, right? There are a lot of people who believe that this thing is a hoax, right? Because if you go down to, like, let's say you're in Nebraska, right? Like they're honestly, they don't see it, right? Like
I don't think all the stupid people in the country again, on the strength of numbers alone, is enough to pull him out of office
I
without
don't
some
believe it. I'm seeing things.
without rat.
Yeah, but there's a problem.
I'm already seeing people saying things like it's not really 90,000. It's more like 40,000.
I get all that,
And they're like, okay, well, it's 40,000 is still a shitty number, but it's
okay. Well, let me ask you this: if the election was held tomorrow, who do you think would win tomorrow? Not in November.
No,
it's
tomorrow
tough
it's easy.
because we can't go vote. Lockdowns, right? Like
What?
Yeah, it's lockdowns, but supposing that it's a theoretical
I
question.
mean, theoretically, like if people were going to vote the way they would ordinarily vote.
Yeah,
I
but
think right now Trump has the advantage because Biden has been quiet. I mean, he hasn't been.
Biden has not been quiet.
No. I mean, so
I want to channeling his voice.
I want to say that Biden is talking constantly, but the media is giving him zero attention.
Yeah,
it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I think that there's a. I think that
right. Good things to say.
I think it's a really good thing, and I'm not the only person who also thinks that, because Trump is hurting the polls by going off with this press conference. He's front and center right now with COVID, and his press conference talking about disinfecting, saying the stupidest shit imaginable, and his own advisors are saying, "Don't talk."
They've already excused those people have already excused it away by saying he wasn't talking about disinfectant, he was talking about an aerosol nebulized.
No, but that's just Twitter.
Johnny,
okay, guys, hold on.
Excusing him.
Here,
Trump has left is his devout face.
Yeah.
Those cocksuckers are excusing him. It's like just like it was like same with Bernie. His face shrunk too.
Well, Trump also kind of has the advantage of the whole the Bernie bro thing, like in the sense that, like for instance, this Tara Reid accusation.
I think that's gone away. I think that's already disappeared.
But just give me a second. So what Trump essentially, I mean, these guys will play it. They're going to keep on bringing it up again and again and again. They may even help her out and get her legal counsel. They may do whatever they can do because they know that when she comes up, at least the former Bernie supporters, a lot of that are going to use that as a reason to not vote, and hence, he'll kind of get them on his side too, unintentionally. So there's that part. The other thing is you can never underestimate, especially in the U.S., the Democrats snatching defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yeah,
they have repeated. So it's not just a factor of what Trump's going to screw up. Trump really had to do one thing, and this is the problem: is he can't help himself. He just
like the Mets.
Stay quiet and just talk about the economy. Stay quiet, talk about the economy. That's all he really needed to do.
I don't think so.
And listen to his advisors.
He can talk about the economy until COVID is going to continue to ravage the economy. It's already 14.7. I know. I know that. But I think the jig is up with that asshole. And the best part of all of this, well, I was going to say with the Tara Reid, I'm glad this is happening right now because her story is already fizzling out of control, looking dumber and dumber. It's going to be hard. It's going to be harder to make sense of that stupid bitch in the fall. And two, listen, I'm serious. And two, but I was going to say about the economy. So, I mean, we're at what I think last time I checked was like 14.7% unemployment. Is the highest has been since literally the Great Depression. It's unbelievably high, really. But the other thing with the Bernie Bros is like a lot of this. Thank fuck for the Lincoln Project, for Never Trump Republicans. Don't underestimate them either.
They're doing. I think
they've been helping. They've helped us flip 40 or 41 districts in midterms. That was in 2018. That was 2 years ago.
And the primary,
that force and dynamic didn't change. Even they helped us on Super Tuesday with fucking Biden. Okay, that force. If Biden, unless a James Comey equivalent happens to Biden or some shit. And even then, I'm not.
Even then, I don't know, man.
Even then, I don't think. But if Biden can still come out with the same turnout, because this is a referendum on Donald Trump. This is not about fucking healthcare.
It's not. This election is not about policies.
Yes,
it's not Donald Trump.
about Trump. Period. And so, if Biden can turn out the same motherfuckers he's been just generating, or moderates in general, he's been generating the midterms, and how Biden and I'm talking about right of center independents, right of center Republicans who don't like Trump, who've never voted for a Democrat. Like Donald Trump is down in the polls with senior citizens. He won them by 9 points against Clinton in 2016. His approval rating with people 65 years or older is 20 points lower. That's just between March and April. And that's just because of this COVID. Obviously, these are people the most susceptible. And so, and I'm pretty sure he's going to just continue to fuck this up. He's going to try to tweet his way out of this between now and November.
Yeah,
he's not going to do anything.
Over tweeting, man. It's ridiculous. He's doing nothing. There's no work being done. He's just tweeting 100 tweets a day. Like, who's reading all your tweets except losers?
I know.
And the journalists.
I don't know.
But anyway, I'm gonna. No, we can actually go on, but I'm just gonna end the broadcast right now because we're at 2 hours. So I'll just stop on live. So, but yeah, stay on for a little bit. Okay, so yeah. All right, that was fun. Whoever's listening to this later on, which is probably more likely what's gonna happen because it's kind of late. So, yeah, well, I don't know how to sign off. Bye. When that.